The fluorescent lights of Richmond Memorial Hospital flickered at 2:47 a.m. when Marcus Chen heard the crying. Most people wouldn't have noticed, the soft whimpering barely audible over the hum of floor polishers and distant medical equipment. But Marcus had learned to hear the things others missed. When you're a single father working the graveyard shift as a janitor, your senses sharpen. You learn to distinguish between the ordinary sounds of suffering in a hospital and something different, something that doesn't belong. He pushed his cleaning cart toward the sound, his worn sneakers squeaking against the freshly mopped floor. Behind a row of vending machines in a forgotten alcove near the emergency exit, he found her, a little girl, maybe 7 years old, huddled in an oversized pink jacket, her dark curls matted against tear-stained cheeks. "Hey there," Marcus said softly, crouching down to her level the way he did with his own daughter, Lily. "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" The girl shook her head, hiccuping between sobs. Her eyes were wide with fear, but there was something else there too, exhaustion, the kind that came from crying for hours. "I'm Marcus. What's your name?" "Emma," she whispered. "I can't find my daddy." Marcus's heart clenched. He knew that fear intimately, the terror of being separated from your child, the panic that rises in your throat like acid. 3 years ago, when his wife Sarah died suddenly from an aneurysm, he'd felt that same desperate helplessness. The world had become a dangerous place overnight, and he'd been left alone to protect their daughter from it. "Okay, Emma. We're going to find him together." "When did you last see him?" "At the restaurant. The fancy one downtown. He was talking to people, and I went to the bathroom, but then I got confused and went outside instead, and there was a nice lady who said she'd help me find him, but then we got in her car and she brought me here and said to wait, but that was so long ago and she never came back." Every instinct Marcus had developed as a father screamed at him. This wasn't a simple case of a lost child. He pulled out his phone with shaking hands and dialed security, then 911. While he waited, he sat down beside Emma, close enough to comfort but not so close as to frighten. "My daughter's name is Lily," he told her. "She's 9. She likes to draw pictures of unicorns." "What do you like?" "Horses," Emma said, her voice small. "Real ones. Daddy promised to take me riding this weekend." When security arrived, followed minutes later by police, the situation escalated rapidly. Emma's last name was Montgomery. As in Victoria Montgomery, CEO of Montgomery Technologies, one of the largest tech companies in the country. As in the woman whose face had been plastered across every news channel for the past 6 hours, pleading for information about her missing daughter. Marcus stayed with Emma while officers made calls, his shift forgotten. He told her stories about Lily, about the time they'd tried to bake a cake and somehow ended up with purple frosting on the ceiling. He showed her pictures on his phone, Lily's school concert, their tiny apartment decorated for Christmas with dollar store ornaments, the two of them at the park feeding ducks. When Victoria Montgomery burst through the hospital doors 40 minutes later, flanked by security personnel and looking like she'd aged 10 years in one night, Emma broke free from the social worker's gentle hold and ran. Victoria dropped to her knees, catching her daughter in an embrace so fierce and desperate that Marcus had to look away, his own eyes burning. He tried to slip out quietly. This was their moment, not his. He still had 3 hours left on his shift, floors to clean, trash to collect. But a hand caught his arm, firm, urgent. "Wait," Victoria said. Her face was a mess of tears and smudged makeup, her designer clothes rumpled. "Please. You're the one who found her." Marcus nodded, uncomfortable with the intensity of her gaze. "The police said you stayed with her. That you kept her calm." "Anyone would have done the same," Marcus said. "But they didn't." "You did." Victoria's voice cracked. "The woman who took her, they caught her leaving the state. She was planning to." She couldn't finish, pulling Emma closer. "You saved her life. Do you understand that? You saved my daughter's life." Marcus didn't know what to say. He thought about all the times he'd walked past people in need, too tired, too busy, too wrapped up in his own struggles. He thought about the night he'd almost called in sick because his back ached and Lily had a cold. Pure chance had put him in that hallway at that moment. "I'm just glad she's safe," he managed. Victoria wiped her eyes, and something shifted in her expression, the vulnerability replaced by the steel that had built a billion-dollar company. "I want to reward you. Name your price." "Anything." Marcus actually laughed, a short, incredulous sound. "I don't want money for helping a scared kid." "That's not," That's not how this works. Then let me help you, Victoria insisted. Please. I've spent the last 6 hours feeling completely powerless. Let me do something. I don't need help. Everyone needs help. Victoria pulled out her phone, fingers flying across the screen. Marcus Chen, night janitor, single father, daughter named Lily, age 9. She looked up. Your daughter's in the gifted program at school, but you turned down the spot because you couldn't afford the fees. You work 60 hours a week between 2 jobs. You've been saving for 3 years to move out of your apartment because the school district where you live is underfunded and overcrowded. Marcus felt his face flush with anger and embarrassment. You had me investigated. In the last 5 minutes. I have resources, Victoria said simply. And I'm going to use them. Not as payment, I could never pay you for what you did tonight. But because the person who saved my daughter's life deserves better than working himself into an early grave just to give his kid a fighting chance. We're doing fine. You're surviving. There's a difference. Victoria's expression softened. I was a single mother once too, you know. Emma's father left when she was 2. I built Montgomery Technologies from nothing while working 3 jobs and sleeping 4 hours a night. I know what it's like to be too proud to accept help, too scared that accepting it means you're not good enough on your own. Something in Marcus's chest cracked open. He thought about Lily, about how she never complained even though he knew she noticed that other kids had newer clothes, fancier birthday parties, vacations he couldn't afford. He thought about the times he'd missed her school events because of work, the exhaustion he tried to hide, the constant fear that he wasn't enough. What are you offering? He heard himself ask. A job. A real one. Montgomery Technologies needs a head of facilities management, someone who understands what it's like to work from the ground up, who notices things others miss, who gives a damn about people. The salary is $120,000 a year, full benefits, and there's a relocation package if you want it. Lily can attend any school you choose. Marcus's head spun. That was more than triple what he made now. It was security. It was breathing room. It was Lily's future. I don't have a degree, he said weakly. I barely finished high school. You have something better, integrity, compassion, and the judgment to do the right thing when it matters most. The rest we can teach you. 3 months later, Marcus stood in his new office, still not quite believing it was real. Lily was thriving at her new school, already making friends and talking about joining the robotics club. They'd moved into a small house with an actual yard, and for the first time in 3 years, Marcus had slept through the night without jerking awake in panic about bills. But the best part came when Victoria invited them to dinner at her home. Emma and Lily bonded instantly, giggling over shared drawings of horses and unicorns. As Marcus watched them play, Victoria sat beside him. Thank you, she said quietly. Not just for that night. For showing me that sometimes the most important business decision is remembering we're all human first. Marcus smiled. Thank you for giving me a chance to build something better. For both of us. In that moment, watching their daughters laugh together, neither of them seeing a CEO and a former janitor, but 2 parents who understood that love, courage, and kindness were the things that truly mattered, that was when Marcus knew everything had changed. Not because of money or opportunity, but because someone had seen his worth and given him the dignity of offering help, and he'd been brave enough to accept it. Sometimes, he realized, salvation comes from the smallest acts of compassion. And sometimes, accepting grace is the strongest thing you can do.